with normal traffic expected after 7:30. For more travel news, go to GBNews.com.
It's the greatest cash prize of the Great British Giveaway so far. A simply stunning £85,000 in tax-free cash to spend on anything you like, making 2026 your greatest year to date. That could get you that brand new car, extend and improve your home, take you away on that bucket list holiday, or just give you some peace of mind over the coming months. For another chance to win £85,000 cash, text cash to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message, or text bonus to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB18 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrants must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 30th of January. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
Bold.
They are under no illusion.
Ray.
Are you a human trafficker?
Boundless. I've had enough of the nonsense, and I'm not afraid to say it.
Don't get us on the BBC.
Every weeknight, I tear through the headlines.
The smell of gasoline. Should we be worried about it?
From Westminster madness to cultural war chaos.
What I'm going to do now is they are throwing things out the car as we speak.
Get ready, Britain. Here we go. Patrick Christie's tonight, weeknights from 9 p.m, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation,
No,
because the failure is
you're deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back.
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
And we do not shy away from the difficult stuff.
Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood.
So join me on Jubes and Co weeknights at 6 p.m, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Hello, there you are. It's 6 o'clock. I'm Dawn Neeson and this is Jubes and Co. Good evening. Hope you're having a good one out there. Now, this afternoon, Safeguarding Minister Jess Phillips finally revealed details of the government's strategy to reduce sexual violence against women and girls by half within a decade. But it failed to acknowledge one small thing: the threat posed by unvetted migration. Do these plans really go far enough? And the government has admitted this evening that it is minded to cancel more local elections next year. As many as 63 areas. Is the Prime Minister running scared? And foreign spouses are moving to join their partners already settled here in Britain. But they are costing you tens of billions of pounds. So we're asking, why should we, the taxpayer, already skinned, let's be honest, be paying for them? And we'll be debating the findings of a shocking new report for you. And finally, the Conservatives have pledged to cut green energy funding in order to boost defence, making sure that Britain is ready for war. Given that Energy Secretary Ed Miliband is set to miss his net zero target by 3 years, is this a smart move? So, hello, welcome to the show. It is me in for Jubes. You won't notice the difference. We're both blondes, just slightly different accent. Brilliant panel for you tonight, as always. A Reform UK councillor on Westminster City Council, the wonderful Layla Cunningham, looking gorgeous and sparkly, and contributing editor at Novara Media, Michael Walker, not looking sparkly, it has to be said. But first, let's get the latest news headlines with Tatiana.
Teachers will be trained to spot early signs of misogyny in boys and steer them away from it as part of the government's long-awaited strategy to tackle violence against women and girls. All secondary school pupils will be taught about healthy relationships. Teachers will be trained to spot worrying behaviour in young men, and high-risk children will be referred to behaviour change programmes. The £20 million package will include a new helpline for teenagers to get support for concerns about abuse in their own relationships. The government hopes by tackling the early roots of misogyny, it will prevent young men from becoming violent abusers. Sir Keir Starmer has insisted the government is stepping in to stop harm before it starts.
We need to make sure that the government is providing context for young boys in schools so that when they hear horrible, violent, misogynistic things, that we can make sure that that doesn't lead young men to a life of criminality.
Elsewhere, Australia's Prime Minister says new hate speech laws are coming after Sunday's deadly shooting at a Jewish festival in Bondi Beach. 15 people were killed when 2 gunmen opened fire on Hanukkah, prompting Anthony Albanese to promise tougher penalties for those spreading hate and radicalisation. The new laws will also include penalties for preachers and leaders who promote violence, a new federal offence of aggravated hate speech, and the introduction of hate as an aggravated factor in sentencing crimes for online threats and harassment. The Chancellor says the latest interest rate cut could knock around £100 a month off mortgage payments for first-time buyers. Rachel Reeves was speaking after the Bank of England lowered the base rate to 3.75%, the lowest level in nearly 3 years. She says 6 cuts since the general election amount to the fastest pace of rate reductions in 17 years. The move follows falling inflation and slower wage growth, offering relief for borrowers but less so for savers. Hospitals in England are on high alert after new figures show flu cases have hit record levels as resident doctors continue striking. More than 3,000 patients were in hospital with flu last week, the highest ever for this time of year. The North West has seen a small fall in admissions, but NHS leaders warn pressure remains intense. One senior doctor says hospitals are nowhere near out of the woods yet. The farming sector is being left bewildered and frightened by government policy, according to a new review commissioned by ministers. The report, led by former NFU President Baroness Batters, calls for a new deal for profitable farming, warning costs are rising while weather conditions become more extreme. Although inheritance tax changes weren't formally within the review's scope, farmers raised them as the single biggest threat to viability. The report also highlights deep concern over changes to post-Brexit farming payments, with some people questioning whether their businesses can survive at all. The parents of a teenager who took his own life after being blackmailed on Instagram are suing Meta in what's thought to be the first UK case of its kind. 16-year-old Murray Dowie was targeted by sextortion scammers posing as a girl and threatened with exposure unless he paid. His family claims Meta knew of safety measures that could have prevented the abuse but prioritised profit instead. Meta says it's fighting sextortion on multiple fronts as lawyers warn the crime has become a global digital epidemic. Ukraine's President Volodymyr Zelensky has called on EU leaders at a Crunch summit urgently to agree to a multi-billion euro loan in frozen Russian money to fund Ukraine's military and economic needs. Ukraine is months from running out of cash, and Zelensky said without an injection by spring, Ukraine will have to reduce production of drones. Most of Russia's £185 billion worth of assets in the EU are held by Belgium-based organisation Euroclear. Until now, Belgium and some other member states have said they're opposed to using the cash as a reparations loan. Russia has warned EU leaders not to use its money, but Polish Prime Minister Donald Tusk said they had to rise to this occasion. The Brussels summit comes at a pivotal moment in the war, and Russia has filed a lawsuit against Euroclear in a Moscow court in a bid to get its money back. And the Prince and Princess of Wales have released a new family photograph for their Christmas card this year. Shared on Kensington Palace's social media, the image shows William and Kate sitting on the grass with George, Charlotte and Louis. It was taken in Norfolk in April by photographer Josh Schiller, and the message reads, "Wishing everyone a very happy Christmas." And those are the latest headlines. For now, more in an hour.
Tune in to GB News Radio wherever you are, online, on DAB digital radio, on TuneIn, on Radio Player, on Nation Player and on your smart speaker. Just say, play GB News.
Thank you very much, Tatiana, and hello to you lot. Welcome to the show. As you may have spotted, it's not Michelle, but I am blonde, and I will try to do her accent, but she'd probably have to kill me because I'll do it so badly. Any case, welcome to the show. Good to have your company. I am indeed Dawn Neeson, and I've got a cracking panel with you for tonight's show. Reform UK Councillor Layla Cunningham, looking fabulous, and contributing editor of Novara Media, Michael Walker, who I have been told to say also looks fabulous, by the way, and I'm almost convinced of that myself. OK, now this show is not about us, it's all about you, as Michelle would always say, so get your views coming in on all the stories we're talking about tonight, gbnews.com/. You'll say, or if you just want to have a natter, to be honest with you, it's nearly Christmas, I don't actually care anymore. But don't forget to stay with us for, this is exciting, the Farage Christmas special at 7 o'clock, live from Chelmsford. You can see them there. Nigel will be joined by GB News regulars Adam Brooks and Joe Phillips, and the man behind the darts and snooker, sports promoter Barry Hearn. That's going to be a real cracker, isn't it, on the hockey? Look, my invite's obviously lost in the post somewhere, but that's a good one. That's straight after this show, so you don't miss it. OK, now the big story of the day, we've been talking about it all day. It's in front of your newspapers and you can't avoid it. All schoolboys in the UK will be taught how to respect women and girls under new government plans to stem the rise in misogyny and reduce sexual violence by half within a decade. Safeguarding Minister Jess Phillips outlined the strategy earlier today. Here she is.
We are calling violence against women and girls the national emergency that it is. Until now, responsibility for tackling violence against women and girls has been left to only the crime-fighting departments. This strategy is different. It deploys the full power of the state across national government and local government. It draws on the experiences of victims and the power of the third sector to transform our approach to these crimes in our schools, our police forces, from housing to healthcare, on our streets and behind closed doors, online and offline.
OK, well, that was Jess Phillips. Now, the strategy includes the banning of deepfake tools and new NHS support for victims of sexual violence. The Conservatives' Katie Lamb challenged Miss Phillips quite strongly on her failure to acknowledge the risk posed to women and girls by unvetted immigration. This is what she had to say.
Every country and culture in the world believes, as we do, that women are equal to men, with personal, bodily and sexual autonomy. And where people from those countries and cultures come here, this can be dangerous.
Interesting stuff, really interesting stuff. Strong opinions there. Michael, I'm going to come to you first. I'll see you making notes. Very good. Michael, is she right? Should Jess Phillips have mentioned unvetted immigration? We know there's a lot of young, fighting-age men, it's almost a cliché now, coming over here in the boats. We know there have been several sexual assaults, rape and indeed even murders committed by undocumented young men coming over in the boats. So is Katie right to mention it?
So I think there's two issues. Could it be mentioned? Fine. If Katie Lamb had sort of said, I accept that there's lots of good things in this policy, but you haven't mentioned this one thing, fine. What happened in Parliament today is that I think Jess Phillips put forward a lot of very interesting policies, and all Katie Lamb could talk about was immigration. And I do think we have a real problem in this country where we can't talk about anything without the conversation getting completely subsumed in the issue of immigration, whatever you think about it. And I actually think there's loads of good stuff in this. I think people misunderstand what it means to sort of talk about young people about consent, because they imagine sort of there's a chalkboard and they're saying, you must respect women, and you think that obviously sounds ridiculous. But I used to do this. I used to go into schools and lead workshops with groups of boys about sex and consent, and it was so productive. It was so amazing.
OK, when was that? When was that?
A decade ago.
Right, OK.
It was with an organisation called Great Men Value Women.
Good title.
Good title, right? But I think if
now
that
it's
gets
entitled toxic masculinity.
Yeah, I mean, there's a question about do you do it in a very negative way or a positive way? But I think the idea of going into schools and talking to kids about this is brilliant.
OK, what do you make of it, Layla?
See, for me, politicians and activists have spent years blaming boys for the failures, their failures. You know, the government and schools, actually, and my sons included, they treat boys as a cultural problem to be corrected. You know, they talk about toxic masculinity as if it's a negative thing. And I find the government is quite galling because they're talking about to children while they're refusing to... You're going to say I'm going on to immigration, but they're refusing to confront the policies and failures that actually do endanger women. It's not boys at school. You know, they ignored grooming gangs. They're letting in migrants, illegal migrants who, you know, we saw on GB News 2 days ago, sexually assaulted a 19-year-old girl. And listen, granted, they're not all sexual offenders, but even a small percentage, it's women and girls that pay the price. And I think there is an issue with teaching toxic masculinity, and that being a man and being a boy automatically makes you a suspect, because we need masculine men. You know, we need men. Society, I feel like right now we shame strength, we shame strong men, and you know, basically, when you shame strength, you end up defenceless, which is basically what's happening.
Well, I mean, on one thing, I agree with you, which is that this needs to be framed as positive masculinity, not sort of as how to be a man and that be sort of a brilliant, productive thing. And there are lots of young people who don't know much about relationships, you know, and it's not always obvious. I mean, some of the stats today, you know, 40% of young men think Andrew Tate's a good guy, and he's obviously not valuing women. He says women should be the property of men.
Can I just respond to Andrew Tate? So I spoke to a few boys, actually, who are lovely boys, and they watch Andrew Tate, and they said, we hate that part that you mentioned, but they said Andrew Tate initially was defending boys. He was saying it's fine to be a boy, it's fine to be masculine, it's fine to be strong. Whereas my boys, and I have 3 teenagers, they were constantly shamed for being masculine. They were toxic masculinity was such, you couldn't say the word man up in their school because that was toxic masculinity. And you know, the thing is, Michael, that is a real problem because we need men. There's nothing wrong with being masculine. It's a virtue of being a man. It's like a woman being feminine.
I mean, I think we're agreeing on lots. I mean, I think this should be framed as positive masculinity, not against toxic masculinity. There is one thing that you've said that I think Kemi Badenoch has also reflected today, and I think it was reflected in what Katie Lamb said as well, which is to say, boys in our schools are not a threat to women. Now, what that suggests... Now, obviously, I don't think we should be talking about boys like they're all threats to women, but the idea that the only reason women are at threat from sexual violence is because of immigration is not only nonsense, it's dangerous. Because it is the case that in every society in the world... Now, it might be different, right? I think what you teach kids matter, and if the Taliban are in charge, they're going to learn something different to if a sort of liberal state is in charge.
But right now, the state is sending, I feel, 2 contradictory messages to boys, right? On the one hand, it's women and girls must be respected. Fantastic message. But on the other hand, it's like, listen, you know, we're allowing thousands of unvetted men into this country. We're housing them in towns and villages, and we're kind of looking away when they sexually assault or rape girls. And actually, if anyone complains, we gaslight them and tell them, don't be racist. They kind of ignored grooming gangs for decades, right? Rape gangs. And now the inquiry is non-exhaustive and chaired by a Labour insider. It's just the state has to take responsibility before it lays it at the door of boys at school, because that's what I feel it's doing. It's deflecting. There's a lot more urgent things that need to be done to protect women and girls than this. And granted, some boys will sadly grow up to be sexual offenders. But the state has to set an example of respect.
Michael, the one thing listening to Jess Phillips today was when Katie Lamb said her piece, and Jess Phillips then got up and said, well, basically, there isn't a single community in this country where men and boys can't be sexual offenders. All of that is true. We know that. But it's still ignoring the fact that there is more of a probability that people from some cultures, misogynistic cultures, are more likely to abuse women. I mean, you can teach boys at school all you like, especially in the part of East London where we both live. But when they go home to fathers who are from these misogynistic cultures and they see how their fathers are treating their mothers, what is the point of talking to them in school when they're going to go home and get different lessons from their fathers?
Well, first of all,
women are second-class citizens.
I think we have to be sort of careful about sweeping statements because the data on this isn't very good, as sort of everyone's always admitted. So,
well, therefore, we do need clearer data.
No, I'm all up for collecting the data, but I'm just saying it is very difficult to say, oh, statistically, this group is more likely to do this and this group.
It is a proven fact that we know men from Afghanistan and Eritrea, in particular, are more likely to commit sex offences than your indigenous British man.
So that's a slightly separate issue, because that's people who have newly arrived from a...
No, it's not a separate issue at all. I mean, these are people from misogynistic cultures that treat women as not even second-class citizens.
Yeah. No, but I suppose, are you talking about sort of British Muslim families, or are you talking about people who've just arrived from a war zone, who is a single man from a sort of very patriarchal society? And I do think those are quite different
I have to pull you up on that. They haven't really arrived from a war zone on the boat. They've actually failed asylum claims in many different countries, and England being the sucker that it is.
I mean,
we take them all. But
we're getting off track again, aren't we? This is another conversation about an important issue that becomes about...
I think what Dawn is saying, and what I think, is that the current state has no moral authority to lecture our boys, because... You know, they buried rape gangs for decades, and let's tell it how it is, they really did. And they're allowing unvetted men, and they're putting them in towns and villages, and some do go on, admittedly not all, to rape young girls. And Worse than that, Michael, we have a Labour Party that can't even define what a woman is. They've got the EHRC guidance been on Bridget Phillipson's desk for months. And you know why she won't implement it? Because it's too difficult. It's not too difficult.
I think this is just so out of touch from what teenagers are like, right? I've worked with teenagers. I worked in schools.
I have six of them.
Okay, but
I have 6 of them.
Their parent is a reform counsellor, so maybe they've got.
They don't agree with any of my politics.
So I'll finish the point.
They don't agree with any of my politics.
I'll finish the point, which was that the idea that we can't talk to young teenagers about how to interact and sort of have a healthy family life and positive masculinity until we've resolved all of these issues involving immigration or trans rights. I just think it's this sort of nihilism which says unless politics looks how I want it to look, we can't possibly solve anything.
Michael, it's not about that at all. You're misunderstanding what I'm saying. Of course we should talk to boys, and I think parents do talk to boys, and boys learn. What we're saying is, for the government to announce this, when we have these other issues that are so pressing, when we have young girls who are being raped by men coming legally placed in villages, when we have a huge rape gang inquiry that's been waited on for years, that's going to be whitewashed, when we have a government that doesn't recognise women yet, that a woman is a woman. These are the things that matter to people right now. That is what's going to stop the immediate danger that we have facing women and girls now. It is not teaching 11-year-old boys.
No, because there is...
100% we should talk to them, but there are priorities. Politics is about choices.
So that very controversial Home Office memo that sort of said, oh, it can't be disproportionate because the majority of sex crimes are committed by white men. Now, that was obviously correctly, I think, attacked because it says we're interested in proportionality. But if what you're interested in is protecting girls, right, then what you really want to do is look at what are the biggest group of sex crimes, and it is, you know, it's people from the same community having a sex attacking each other, right? And that doesn't mean that there might not be disproportionality in different places, but the idea that you sort of ignore that big chunk of policy until you've sorted out all these separate issues, I just don't buy.
Sorry, you said that you were working on this 10 years ago. Right? That proves that it was not ignored. This messaging has been given to boys for decades. Well, this was right? This is a rehash. It's constantly blaming boys and saying we're doing something when they're doing nothing about the actual dangers. This is not a new policy.
So this was a small voluntary organisation. It has nothing to do with the state.
My son is 20 now. He's been lectured about this, and rightly so.
Lecturing is the problem. I don't know.
Right, we have to...
So it's not new.
Unfortunately, we have to finish that subject there, but as always, let us know what you think. Our gbnews.com/your-say. Now, we have a bit of breaking news for you just before we indeed take a break. Britain's new ambassador to the US will be veteran diplomat Christian Turner. That's the Press Association putting that out there. Turner, the ambassador to the United Nations, was previously political director at the Foreign Office and brokered a close relationship with the new Labour administration before he left New York. Prime Minister Keir Starmer said, "I warmly congratulate him as he starts his work to further build our strong economic and security ties and deliver for the British people." OK. Now, coming up, the government has admitted this evening that it is minded to cancel more local elections next year in as many as 63 areas. Is the Prime Minister running scared, or are we seeing the death of democracy? See you after the break.
Mornings don't have to be tiresome, especially if you have the right company.
Wake up to news as it happens, opinion and debate, and of course, a little bit of entertainment too.
Because when the kettle's on, we're on.
That's Breakfast on GB News, a show worth waking up for.
Every morning from 6 a.m.
Only on the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
We'll spread the news, you spread the word.
From the school run to the home run, watch a new show for all of Britain.
He can say whatever he wants.
A straight-talking show where all voices are heard.
And, you know, when are we going to stop talking about smashing the gangs and actually do it?
With the stories that matter from every part of our country.
There's a bit of a crash landing there for your Chancellor.
Bold, fearless and standing up for you. That's me, Martin Dewberry, 3 p.m. till 6 p.m, weekdays, here only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Westminster's full of talk, but out here, it's the real world.
Am I allowed to talk now?
No, that's it. This is where it matters. Real people and real lives That's what politics is all about.
The fact is Trump made a good start. No.
Straight answers, no spin, and just a couple of pints.
How many fingers have I got up? About 10.
So join me for Lee Anderson's Real World every Friday at 7 p.m. only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
You want to know what's really going on in the corridors of power? Labour don't know what to do with you half the time, and that makes you quite lethal in the chamber. Get behind the headlines with Chopper's Political Podcast. Join me, Christopher Hope, as I sit down with the great and the good of British politics. We'll see where this ruling takes us. These are the stories shaping our nation. Chopper's Political Podcast, available now on all platforms. Listen in and stay ahead.
Decisions made in Washington aren't just shaping America, they're shaping Britain too. From migration to global security, from crime to health. Whatever happens in the White House today
will be felt in your town or city tomorrow.
That's why The Late Show is live from Washington, D.C.
Cutting through the politics to show you what it all means for Britain.
The Late Show live every night at midnight.
Only on GB News,
Britain's news channel.
Exciting news. Every Friday, my Patrick Christie's Tonight Show is going to have a twist to it. We're welcoming some special guests. You. That's right, on Fridays I'm going to be doing my show in front of a live studio audience because this show is about you and what you have to say. It's going to be the same big debates, same big topics, same big opinions, but every Friday night at 9 p.m. you are invited to come on down to Patrick Christie's Tonight to be a part of the action. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Hello, welcome back. This is Jubes and Co with me, Dawn Neeson, in for the lovely Michelle tonight. Now keeping me company until 7 o'clock, Reform UK Councillor on Westminster City Council, Layla Cunningham, and contributing editor to Novara Media, Michael Walker. Thank you very much for your company as well tonight. Now, Nigel Farage has claimed Britain is turning into a banana republic as Labour prepares to delay more local council elections for millions of voters. Ministers said they were asking 63 local authorities across England whether they want to postpone contests scheduled for May next year until 2027. That is as many as 4.6 million voters. Now, Layla, this is going to be potentially, it's not definitely happening, but they've been asked about it, potentially the second time this has happened.
Third, because they also cancelled mayoral elections.
Yes, of course, yes, so correct, yeah,
that
absolutely.
we were polling to win.
Yeah, so it's the third. Now, what's
in a democracy,
happening?
elections,
yeah, exactly.
They're not optional.
No.
You know, they're not like, it's how people hold their local government to account. And it basically, when you cancel it, it really is how authoritarian regimes behave. I mean, there's no other way to say it. There's no emergency right now. And if you need to reorganise, you reorganise with the new governing party after the elections. You don't do it before, because then that's also not democratic. So, I mean, listen, it's obvious that it's a form of control, right? It's the uniparty tightening its vice grip.
Michael, how have we got here? I know you're not a big fan of the Labour government, by the way, but how on earth have we got here where suddenly we voted for the Labour Party, change, progression, we're going to make the country better, and suddenly they're cancelling local elections?
Well, they're postponing them, which is different to...
No, it's the same thing.
Well,
I'm sorry, it's the same thing.
So they're going to... Probably what's going to happen a year later is they're going to lose these councils to Reform or the Greens. And it's going to be equally as embarrassing then. I mean, if anything, it's going to be worse because it's going to be closer to the general election.
Well, no, but it's obvious that Kemi and Starmer recognise that if they do very badly in the May elections, they're going to lose their job.
Oh, so you think it's about the individual leaders, not the parties in general?
Well, you know, I mean...
interesting.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, everyone's talking about let's see if Starmer survives the May elections. Let's see if Kemi survives the May elections. And it really shows you a uniparty, because they're not really scared of each other anymore. They're scared of reform.
I mean, we should... And the Greens, if
and
you're
the Green Party. I mean, that is fair. I mean, lots of younger voters are going to the Greens, especially young women.
We should explain what they're saying is the reason, right? Because it's not just...
Whatever the reason.
It's not that they've randomly said, oh, my God, we might lose these elections, let's postpone.
Are you sure? Of course they wouldn't say that. Come on.
Well, of course they wouldn't.
They are the masters of subterfuge.
I'm saying, let's put all of the information and all of the arguments on the table, is what I'm saying. So at the moment, we do have a very confusing system in local government where it's very you know, it's unclear who's in charge. You've got a county council and a district council. They're moving to unitary authorities, which I think is a good idea. I mean, I imagine you think that's a good idea as well. And the argument is that's taking a little bit longer than they thought it would. And to get people to go out and campaign and vote for a councillor who's for a position that's not going to exist a year later, I see the argument that that would be frustrating for a voter.
Many of these local councils said, no, we're ready. We're a bit confused about what we're...
Well, if they're ready, then they'll be able to do it, because the details here is that if it's the local council has to
No, this
ask.
is the ones that were already cancelled, the second lot that were cancelled before this third lot we're talking about now.
The thing is...
I know.
When it comes to the third lot, the issue is, sort of as far as I understand from all the reporting on this, is that Labour have said if these councils request to have them postponed for a year so that they can focus on the reordering instead of election campaigns, then we will be inclined to allow them to. It's not that the Labour government are sort of going to any council and saying you can't have an election.
Michael, can I just explain something to you? In a democracy, you don't extend your own term. I'm sorry. Under absolute no circumstances. It's the voter that does that. And when you cancel an election, you lose the permission to govern. That's it. You get permission from voters. You don't get it from anything else. You don't get it from some illusion of reorganisation or expeditious. And that's how you lose democracy, by the way. It's not a revolution. It's bit by bit, process by process, cancelling by cancelling, because basically right now, if you normalise cancelling elections for reorganisation, you normalise governing without consent of the voter. That's what they are doing. For however long. The voter voted you in for a certain amount of time, and right now they are saying we are giving ourselves permission to extend our term without your permission because that's what we want to do.
I think I think you make an important point. I don't dismiss it out of hand. But I do think that if you asked voters in lots of these areas, there's already quite a lot of frustration with local government and sort of the idea that it's too expensive and it's inefficient. If you have loads of people who've got through their door a leaflet saying you should go out to vote, it costs quite a lot of money to put on a local election, and then they find out, oh, there's another election a year later for a completely different body and all the votes you did last year
But there won't be an election in a year. That's not what they're doing. Well, then why not reorganise after the election?
They're postponing it to 2027.
Well, they're saying 2027 now. When they came to power, they said 2026, 2020.
Well, I think the idea is that by 2027 you'll have the structures of the new unitary authority in place, and then these voters can vote for councillors to the new unitary authority.
It is not up to the government to cancel democracy, ever. That is really a slippery slope. You cannot say, you know what, we just need a little bit more time to sort ourselves out. Well, I mean, that is not up. They are governing without consent.
Well, what we have in this country is parliamentary sovereignty, which means that Parliament can vote for whatever they want. So during the Second World War, they voted to not have an election.
Yeah, but we were in a war. There's no emergency now.
During COVID, we did the same. What I'm saying is, constitutionally, that we have parliamentary sovereignty and they can do that if they want.
But it's never been done before outside of an emergency. This is the first time. Labour, like you said, is meant to be progressive and fair and here for the people. This is not... Basically, they don't trust the voters, and they're running scared.
I just think that in all those places, you're probably going to win in 12 months' time anyway. You just have to wait a little bit longer.
No, and we will, for sure. It's not about that. It's not about that. It's about we are slowly... See, I always thought socialism and authoritarianism would come with a revolution, you know, with a manifesto, but you're seeing it bit by bit. Regulation here, small push here, an extra tax here, a digital ID here, a bit of cancelling of jury trials here, an online safety bill. Yeah. It's bit by bit, and it's a slow creep. No one realises, and slowly the government controls way more than you ever wanted them to, and you're giving them way more of your money than you wanted to, and you can't even vote them out.
Right, OK, let's actually find out what the Minister for Local Government, Alison McGovern, actually said in her announcement today. Have a listen.
Many councils across the country and of all stripes have expressed anxiety about their capacity to deliver a smooth and safe transition to new councils alongside running resource-intensive elections to councils proposed to be shortly abolished. They have expressed concerns about the time and energy spent managing elections to bodies that won't shortly exist, only to run an election a year later. We've also heard from councils querying the value for taxpayers of spending tens of millions running elections to bodies that won't exist, as I said, for much longer. Councils are telling us that where capacity is a problem, postponement would free up resources to be concentrated on local government reorganisation and the delivery of good services. To be clear, should a council say that they have no reason to delay their elections, there will be no delay. If a council voices genuine concerns, we will take these issues seriously and would be minded to grant a delay in those areas.
Well, there's a lot of words in there, but saying, you know, councils will have have the option. This is not at all linked to the fact that Reform are 10 percentage points over Labour in the polls. I mean, this is Conservative councils as well, so it's not just the Labour Party. But I never, ever thought, Michael, in my lifetime, and I've been a journalist for a long time on newspaper, I never, ever thought that I would be treated quite as badly as I feel like I'm being treated now by politicians.
You don't think you're slightly overreacting?
No, I don't.
These are council elections that are going to happen 12 months after they were going to happen because
I think
the positions won't exist anymore.
No, I think when you take into account the cancelling of the elections, the facial recognition, the doing away of juries, none of this was in the manifesto, not the manifestos matter anymore. I just feel that I'm living in Big Brother.
I mean, I think the real damage to local democracies happened under the Conservatives when their budgets got cut by 40%, which meant that they couldn't provide any of the services that they used to provide. Like, I think what people really care about...
voting. It's not budgets, it's not administration, it's knowing what you're voting for. If you get hired for a job and you're told it's going to be 3 years and you sign a contract and they're like, you know what, actually, we've made it 1, you'd be pretty angry. You know, you vote for a term, you vote for something.
The government, we're not talking about
the
job.
We're not talking about
They had in their manifesto that they were going to reorganise councils in this way.
They didn't have it that they'd cancel elections.
They have a mandate to merge these sort of different units into unitary authorities, and they've judged that this is sort of the most cost-efficient way of doing that.
Come on, do you really believe that, Michael?
I kind of do, you know.
Really
and I'm not
kind of do.
Come on, you can't be that naive, Michael. You run a pretty cool, like, news organisation. You've got to be...
I just don't think it's going to advantage them politically as much as you think, because I don't think anything's going to happen
between... It gives Starmer 1 more year to prove himself. It gives Kemi 1 more year...
He's already going to be out in May. Because enough of these elections are going to happen that it's going to become very clear that Keir Starmer's incredibly unpopular.
I bet you every Labour council will say they're not ready yet. Let's see.
So you don't think there's going to be any elections?
Well, I don't know how many councils they're asking, but how many million people don't get to vote?
So they were asking 63 local authorities whether they want to postpone.
Probably those 60. You know, wherever we're polling to win, let's tell it how it is. If Reform wasn't polling so high, I can guarantee you that these elections would not be cancelled.
See, I don't actually agree with that.
100%.
I feel like if it was going to be Labour or the Tories elected, they would still just say, look, this is a waste of money doing this.
I just think,
all they do is waste money. Are you joking? You think they care about wasting money? Have you seen the budget?
Well, that's a fair point.
I mean, come on, they're not interested in cost saving in any way. They treat taxpayer money like monopoly money.
So what have they spent most of their money on over the last 2 budgets? And again, I'm not a huge fan of this government, but they have spent most of it on the NHS, right? This is not just money going down the drain.
They spent most of it on welfare. Right?
No, they haven't spent most of it on welfare. They spent a lot more on the NHS than they have on welfare.
And you think the NHS needs more money?
Yes.
Really?
I think with an ageing population, the NHS needs loads more money.
We have never put more money into the NHS and had worse outcomes. That is the truth. We don't need more money. We need it better spent.
But the worst outcomes is partly because we've got an ageing population. We had COVID, and we didn't get any more money under the Conservatives.
No, France and Germany also have an ageing population. They have much better outcomes than we do.
I mean, there's a good argument their health systems work better than ours.
Well, so it's not money. It's
both, isn't it? Because reorganising if you think reorganising local authorities is going to be difficult, try and reorganise the NHS to make it into a social insurance system.
OK, we are going to change the subject because we could talk about this all night as well. This show is so short, isn't it? But as I said, let me know. I know I haven't read as many out as Michelle would, but let me know. gbnews.com/you'll say on your screen now in big letters. Coming up, foreign spouses are moving to join their partners already settled here. Talking of wasting money. But why should the taxpayer be forking out tens of billions of pounds, that's you and me, and it is tens of billions of pounds, to help it happen? See you after the break. It's going to get fiery.
Ready to soak up that holiday sunshine?
Won't we need some cover?
No worries. All sorted.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
If you're after some winter sun tomorrow, well, Spain's not looking like a great bet. There is a front that's bringing quite a bit of cloud and rain lying across much of Spain into Portugal and stretching as far as Madeira and the Canary Islands, all of that pushing its way east and southeastwards. A drier picture for many around the Mediterranean, but some outbreaks of rain here and there. And worth bearing in mind, there's more unsettled weather to come, particularly towards more southern parts as we go towards the weekend. Bye-bye.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
Evening. Yes, it's time for your latest weather update from the Met Office here on GB News. It's been a very wet day for many of us today. Tomorrow, well, it wouldn't be hard, but it should be a drier and a brighter day, with many of us seeing some winter sunshine. The winds will also be easing a little bit, but it will stay quite blustery. This little weather system doesn't look much, but it's been providing heavy rain through the day today, all now starting to pull away. A band of showery rain working from west to east through this evening, out of the way pretty much by midnight, so most places dry through the early hours, but showers will continue to push into West Wales, North West England, Northern Ireland and Western Scotland. Temperatures may dip a little lower than recent nights, but still most of us will avoid a frost, and most of us will have a brighter day on Friday. Certainly over the Midlands, Eastern England, some sunshine around here, and across Southern England as well after a very soggy Thursday. Friday looks a bit better overall. Showers will feed into Wales, plenty of showers again for Northern Ireland and especially across Scotland. Mostly across the central belt northwards, parts of southern Scotland may escape dry. Still quite breezy, which means the showers will be moving through, but there'll be so many of them, could just feel like a very wet day on the west coast of Scotland. Elsewhere, I say there will be some sunny spells between the showers, and certainly over much of eastern England, the Midlands and southern England, it's generally a dry and a fine day. A bright and breezy kind of feel to it, certainly a lot drier than today. The showers will tend to ease in Northern Ireland as well, though we'll keep some going along the north coast. Temperature-wise, a bit above average for the time of year, probably feeling a bit warmer than today. The winds will be easing and there will be, for many of us, a bit more sunshine. Saturday, for the vast majority, also a fine day. The winds will be picking up in the west and some rain will creep into Northern Ireland, Wales and southwest England later on. But many areas, again, on Saturday looking dry and bright. And temperatures, again, maybe a touch above average, 8 to 11 degrees Celsius. Bye for now.
Thank you, Britain, for helping us reach 8 million followers across social media. Thank you for making us a part of your daily life.
Good evening. This is the latest AI travel news from GBNews.com. There are disruptions on the M62 eastbound between junctions 26 and 27 in Kirklees, with delays expected to clear by 7 tonight. On the westbound M62 near Warrington, a road incident has closed one lane, causing 15-minute delays, with improvements expected by 8. The A3 northbound in Hampshire is closed due to an accident, expected to reopen shortly after 7. And on the trains, cross-country services may face issues due to heavy rain, while East Midlands railway routes between Leicester and Luton are experiencing delays. For more travel news, go to gbnews.com.
Hello, welcome back to Jubes and Co with me, Dawn Neeson. You know who's here. I'm not going to bother introducing them again, but they are wonderful. They're doing a great job. A really good debate. Keep the messages coming in, by the way. We just had a very heated debate about the government postponing local elections. And Annette making a very good point. It says no elections, no council tax. Very good point, actually. And Stephen says Starmer would be better off cancelling his government. And Christine says, how many is all these changes in local authorities going to cost, and who will be paying? Exactly.
It's going to cost more if we have an extra election.
And Katie, shut up you. And Katie says, I mean that in a nice, caring way, Michael. Katie says they're cancelling jury trials, cancelling elections, cancelling the Number 10 lobby, cancelling Brexit, Tin Pot dictatorship in action. Lots of people will agree with that one. gbnews.com/you'll say, keep them coming in. OK, now we're going to change the topic. Foreign spouses brought to live in Britain are costing taxpayers tens of billions over their lifetimes. A new report has shown, it found that, stop looking at me like that, Michael. It found that foreign-based partners who arrive on a visa will each end up costing the state an average of £109,000 if they stay for the rest of their lives. Michael, we're skinned. Why are we paying for foreigners to bring their spouses over here?
This is the most outrageous piece of data cherry-picking I've seen in a very long time.
I didn't cherry-pick it. I mean, it's there. It's official figures.
To be fair, the Daily Mail cherry-picked it. But what they've done is they've looked at a report from the Migration Advisory Committee, which is showing the fiscal impact of various types of migrants.
Yeah.
And so a skilled worker, their lifetime contribution to the state, so what they pay more in tax than they take out, is £689,000. Now, the family members is in the positive. Mm-hmm. Now, the family members are minus 100,000. So net, you get 500,000. Now, I think there's a good argument that if you want that £689,000, positive contribution over someone's lifetime, you have to let them bring their partner, right? If we want to attract the best and the brightest around the world, we can't say, yes, you can come, but you're going to have to divorce your loved one.
But let's be honest, it's not about that. It's about the loved one claiming benefits, right? So the loved one can come, but he has to be able to support that loved one. Because when basically the state is expanding who it supports, right? And who pays into it, but we're not, and who takes from it, but we're not expanding who pays into it. And we literally can't afford it. So when someone is granted refugee status in the UK, they are entitled to a family reunion, right? And there's no income threshold for that. There's no requirement to be self-efficient, and there's no cap on numbers, really. So it often becomes a multiplier effect. So one asylum claim actually equals several more with all access to housing, NHS, schools, welfare support. We just can't afford it anymore. And it's not about love, it's not about demonising, it's about figures, numbers and capacity. We just don't have it.
So I think asylum is a slightly separate issue, because what these guys are talking about at the Migration Advisory Committee is in this report is basically skilled workers and health and social care visas.
Yeah, health and social care are low-paid migration.
But they still
support themselves.
We're not talking about doctors.
Health and social care workers on their visas contribute £54,000 over their lifetime. So in total, if you add up all of them, £5.5 billion over their lifetime. And I think actually the bigger contribution of health and social care sort of workers is that it keeps costs for care low. Now, I'm actually all in favour of massively increasing costs for care workers, the wages for care workers, but that's obviously going to mean taxes go up. So I often have this argument whenever I'm sort of talking to someone.
Taxes are going up to subsidise the low-wage migration.
So whenever I'm talking to someone from Reform, right, what do you think is going to happen if you stop migrants coming in to work in health and social care, and you want to attract people who are already here to do those jobs?
To wipe out bums, as Zach Walensky very racially said.
Racially?
Yes.
OK. Anyway, if you want to attract people here to do those jobs, you're going to have to pay a bit more.
And I'm happy to.
But that's going to mean taxes go up.
No.
And I'm happy to put taxes up. I want a higher wage, higher tax society.
That is a false narrative, OK? Because what's happening now is we have imported foreign cheap labour. 6.5 million came in the Boris wave, and a lot of them are from that industry that you talk about. And when you import that, you import wages, low wages, and you keep wages stagnant. And that is a massive fiscal burden on the whole country, because people can no longer support themselves. When that one person comes to wipe someone's bum, as Zach Walensky said, right, they can bring untold dependents. And those untold dependents have access to welfare that the British taxpayer pays. That is why taxes are going up. It's not because you're going to increase... No, it's not because you're going to increase wages for health and social care workers. Absolutely not.
The reason taxes are going up is principally because we have an ageing population, and at any time you have... The fundamental problem that every single Western country faces at the moment is the number of people who are not working is increasing relative to the number of people working. And that's not because people have become work shy, it's because the retired population is massively increasing.
It's because people have become work shy. We have 9 million people who could work and don't work. We are signing up people on long-term sickness
dependency
who
ratio.
have ADHD.
So do you think we have a lot more retirees relative to the working age population than we used to have?
We do have an ageing population, but we also have 6.5 million people who have been brought in on low wages who cannot sustain themselves.
Do you not think an ageing population is going to make it more difficult for the government to keep a health service going?
We are happy to prioritise British people if they need help. We do not need to pay for millions more from abroad. We're not a welfare, charity, England. We take care of our own. We don't need to take care of other people.
But also other people take care of us, because otherwise there wouldn't be enough people working in the health system.
We all have bottoms that need wiping. I think we'll finish it on that one. We do have to move on now. Coming up, the Conservatives have pledged to cut green spending in order to boost defence and ensure Britain is ready for war. Is this a sensible move, though? Don't go too far. See you soon.
I'm Michelle Dewberry. This is Jubes and Co with you.
Hello everyone, Patrick Christie is here. GB News,
Britain's news channel.
Access the stories that matter to you. Take the GB News family with you on any device, and as long as you have an internet connection. Tune in to GB News anywhere on the planet or beyond. GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel. At GB News, we love to hear from you, our loyal community. So drop us a line at gbnews.com/yoursay. There you can talk to each other and also to the presenters live on air. gbnews.com/yoursay, because GB News is your channel, Britain's news channel.
Westminster's full of talk, but out here, it's the real world.
Am I allowed to talk then?
No, that's it. This is where it matters, real people and real lives. That's what politics is all about.
The fact that Trump made a good start, no.
Straight answers, no spin, and just a couple of pints.
How many fingers have I got up? About 10.
So join me for Lee Anderson's Real World every Friday at 7 p.m. only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Join me, Nana Akwe, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun.
No, he didn't say that, Dave.
I'm so surprised.
I think there's an element of truth to that.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Mornings don't have to be tiresome, especially if you have the right company.
Wake up to news as it happens, opinion and debate, and of course, a little bit of entertainment too.
Because when the kettle's on, we're on.
That's Breakfast on GB News, a show worth waking up for.
Every morning from 6 a.m.
Only on the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
We'll spread the news, you spread the word.
Britain was once the envy of the world. But look around. A nation that no longer knows what it is or where it's going. A country that's broken. How do we fix Britain? How do we bring it back? Friday night with Matt Goodwin at 8 p.m. only on GB News.
Decisions made in Washington aren't just shaping America, they're shaping Britain too. From migration to global security, from crime to health. Whatever happens in the White House today
will be felt in your town or city tomorrow.
That's why The Late Show is live from Washington, D.C.
Cutting through the politics to show you what it all means for Britain.
The Late Show live every night at midnight.
Only on GB News,
Britain's news channel.
Hello, welcome back. Layla and Michael are still with me, and we are going to talk now. What would you rather spend your money on? Defending the country or giant windmills in the countryside? So this is the story. Kemi Badenoch has promised to cut green funding in order to boost the defence budget. That's the choice, basically. Michael, big windmills or defending the country?
I mean, that's the choice. You kind of, that's a loaded question, isn't it? I don't think there really is.
Come on, it's my job.
zero
Come on,
sum.
just answer it. Come on.
You don't have to choose one or the other. You can do both.
We've only got a finite amount of money, right?
Yeah.
If I gave you a tenner, what would you rather spend it on?
What would I rather spend it on? No, I'm not buying into this analysis, right? I do think that one...
Why, you can breathe clean air, but you can be shot while you're doing it. What are you going to spend on?
That's slightly more loaded, I have to say.
That's very loaded.
But at least you'll die breathing clean air.
So the thing is, I mean, I'm very much in favour of us rethinking sort of our place in the world, and I think the fact that we can no longer rely on the American military umbrella does mean that we probably do have to spend a bit more on our military than we used to. I do think, though, there are many areas when it comes to our military where I think if the public really knew what that money was going on, they wouldn't be too happy about it. So we've got billions going on aircraft carriers, which are in the middle of, the Indian Ocean. And I think if what we're worried about is Russia, then what we should care about is defending Britain, right? We should completely reorientate all of our military so it's about defending Britain. At the moment, what we've done for generations, because we haven't quite got over the empire, is we've tried to have a military... No, it's true. This is just history. This is not like a moralising thing. We've wanted to have...
Sounds like it.
We've wanted to have an army which can exert its force and power across the globe. And I don't think we need to do that, right? We're a sort of middling country on the edge of Europe. We should act like it and defend ourselves.
The thing is, Michael, we have a dwindling military capacity, right? And
I think it's just too spread out.
No, it's not.
No,
it's not.
We don't have troops to fill Wembley Stadium.
We don't have the troops and we don't have the weapons. And a country that cannot reliably power itself can't defend itself, right? If both Tories and Labour prioritise climate dogma, let's tell it how it is, over energy security.
What do you mean by climate dogma?
Well,
do you think climate change is having as a big problem and that we need to do something about it?
I don't think that we should sacrifice national security.
But do you think
industry.
climate change is a big problem?
I don't think what we are pursuing so aggressively net zero is going to make one dent in the world's fight against climate change.
I suppose the reason I ask is because you're a sort of leading Reform Party member, and I do think there's lots of legitimate conversations that can be had about what is sort of the most efficient way to get to net zero, what should be the timeline.
But what I'm worried about
is that we import into this country the same thing that you have in the United States, which the whole question of climate change becomes extremely polarised. So people on the left are like, climate change is real. People on the right are like, climate change isn't real. And then the whole thing just becomes incredibly toxic. I think there was a consensus in this country that climate change is a big problem and that we should try and reduce our emissions. And I think that was a very positive thing. You can have some debates about how do you do it? Do you invest in this? Do you invest in that? But I think sort of us making climate change into a culture war issue and sort of saying we can either defend ourselves or we can go green, I just think it's damaging and dangerous.
So it's not a culture war, right? It's a question of national security, because what does going green mean? It means electrification of the whole system, right? Electricity is not an energy source. It's an energy carrier. Right? And the energy source that powers electricity right now is gas, right? And because...
Well, it's increasingly wind and solar.
Wind and solar is intermittent and can't be stored, right? So the base load, which is the energy... You can't store renewable energy.
In batteries, you can.
You cannot build a whole industry and a whole national defence on intermittent weather. You need gas. That is our baseload, and that baseload means the energy we need 24/7, and right now that is gas. And due to net zero, Tories and Conservatives, we have chosen to make ourselves vulnerable and import gas from other countries. We have it under our feet. We actually need it, but we have shut it down. And, you know, the really sad is that if we used our own gas, we could build our own nuclear parks, we could bring back British industry, we'd have jobs, we'd have security, we'd have strength, we'd have pride.
Layla Cunningham, Michael Walker, thank you so much. You've been absolutely brilliant. Don't go anywhere, though, because up next is Nigel Farage's Christmas party.
Expect warm spells with the odd rude interruption. Boxed Boilers sponsors the weather on GB News.
Evening. Yes, it's time for your latest weather update from the Met Office here on GB News. Been a very wet day for many of us today. Tomorrow, well, it wouldn't be hard, but it should be a drier and a brighter day, with many of us seeing some winter sunshine. The winds will also be easing a little bit, but it will stay quite blustery. This little weather system doesn't look much, but it's been providing heavy rain through the day today, all now starting to pull away. A band of showery rain working from west to east through this evening, out of the way pretty much by midnight, so most places dry through the early hours, but showers will continue to push into West Wales, North West England, Northern Ireland and Western Scotland. Temperatures may dip a little lower than recent nights, but still most of us will avoid a frost, and most of us will have a brighter day on Friday. Certainly over the Midlands, Eastern England, some sunshine around here, and across Southern England as well. After a very soggy Thursday, Friday looks a bit better overall. Showers will feed into Wales, plenty of showers again for Northern Ireland and especially across Scotland. Mostly across the central belt northwards, parts of southern Scotland may escape dry. Still quite breezy, which means the showers will be moving through, but there'll be so many of them, could just feel like a very wet day on the west coast of Scotland. Elsewhere, I say there will be some sunny spells between the showers, and certainly over much of eastern England, the Midlands and southern England, it's generally a dry and a fine day. A bright and breezy kind of feel to it, certainly a lot drier than today. The showers will tend to ease in Northern Ireland as well, although we'll keep some going along the north coast. Temperature-wise, a bit above average for the time of year, probably feeling a bit warmer than today. The winds will be easing and there will be, for many of us, a bit more sunshine. Saturday, for the vast majority, also a fine day. The winds will be picking up in the west and some rain will creep into Northern Ireland, Wales and southwest England later on. But many areas, again, on Saturday looking dry and bright. And temperatures, again, maybe a touch above average, 8 to 11 degrees Celsius. Bye for now.
Expect warm spells with the odd rude interruption. Boxed Boilers sponsors the weather on GB News.
Thank you, Britain, for making us the fastest growing news website in the nation.
because the truth matters, and so do you.
Good evening. This is the latest AI travel news from GBNews.com. On the M6 northbound between junctions 19 and 20, a broken down vehicle closes 2 of 3 lanes, causing 1.5-hour delays. On the M6 southbound between junctions 3 and 2, road management closes 2 of 4 lanes. The A66 eastbound in Durham sees an overturned vehicle closing 1 lane. In Buckinghamshire, a collision on the M40 southbound between junctions 4 and 3 closes 2 lanes. And on the trains, Chiltern Railways and cross-country services may face disruptions between Leamington Spa and Banbury due to heavy rain. For more travel news, go to gbnews.com.
It's the big one. Your chance to win a whopping £85,000 in tax-free cash. The largest cash prize we've given away to date. That's like over £7,000 a month extra in your bank account each month for 12 whole months. That's a year of yes. Yes to holidays, yes to treats, yes to shopping trips, yes to home improvements. For another chance to win £85,000 cash, text cash to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus 1 standard network rate message. Or text bonus to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus 1 standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB18 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 30th of January. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
5 hosts, 5 opinions, 5 fearless debates, 5 unfiltered takes on the day's news.
5 reasons not to be anywhere else on Saturday night.
This is the Saturday 5. You got me. You got me good there. Britain's biggest Saturday night TV show.
It's not a bad brand.
Yeah. Uncensored.
Very, very racy tonight.
On the unpredictable.
What does she say? Can you translate it for us?
And always entertaining.
And how can a country go from being led by William Wallace Saturday nights from 6 p.m. only on GB News, the People's Channel.
Britain's news channel.
You're going to want to stay tuned, trust me. Britain was once the envy of the world. But look around. A nation that no longer knows what it is or where it's going. A country that's broken. How do we fix Britain? How do we bring it back? Friday night with Matt Goodwin at 8 p.m. only on GB News.